This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast. This is the official Crown Jewel review show, and Saudi Arabia just got delivered a hell of a wrestling show. Regardless of what you think about why they're there, money, or the politics, or moralities involved, this was a great wrestling show. If you just take out the location, I think some people would have a different perspective. And every match was certainly not my favorite, and I've got a lot of issues with certain things. But overall, this was a very solid wrestling match and a main event that delivered and outperformed and overachieved, rather, even the most optimistic of predictions. And let me just comment on the main event first. We'll dive into more detail with it in a little bit later in the show. But I will say that the main event, while it over-delivered in terms of drama, moments, Jake Paul, all that, that still doesn't make me feel like Logan Paul deserved to be in that spot. Just because he put on what was a really good performance, and he showed that he's taking this seriously, and he is improving upon his, match by match here. That still does not make me feel like he deserves a main event spot. And see, that's the distinction here. While he impressed most people, I still believe that, and I probably think most fans believe that while he put on an awesome performance, him being champion at this point, or even being put in championship matches, still doesn't make a lot of sense and is way too much too soon, even if he has the physical part foundationally down in the ring. So, but props to Logan Paul, props to Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso. They played their part in this match as well. I'm not a big fan of Jake Paul. I'm not really a big fan personally of any of the Paul family, just for some things that they stand for and that kind of thing. But they played their part well. And for a celebrity appearance, Jake Paul took it seriously. I don't think he's going to be diving into WWE at any point. But I have to admit, it was kind of a cool moment to see the brothers who started on Vine and worked their way up to stardom, and obviously have accomplished in the world of sports and boxing specifically some pretty impressive things, albeit if they competed against some washed up legends of Andy Silva and Floyd Mayweather. I mean, if they were at their peak, those two would have gotten crushed. But nonetheless, I think that it is still admirable, and they're athletes and they're stars, and I respect that. And I understand why WWE is attracted to them. And not only do they actually deliver, but they have a crossover combined audience of potentially 30 million people who follow those two guys. It's really amazing the base that they bring, potential base of viewers to WWE. Even if only a very small fraction transition over to WWE television, it's a win for WWE. So, again, I don't love Logan Paul by any means, but now, without a shadow of a doubt, that when he comes to the ring and he has a match, he's not going to pull any punches. He kind of is he's catching it. He's catching on very quickly, and his transition has been much smoother, if not the smoothest, of any celebrity to come over to WWE. So, regardless, again, of what you think about them personally, which is hard to put those feelings aside, I just still believe that he should be a heel. I know that Roman Reigns is playing the heel here, but you can't tell me showing up to the arena in a black SUV, Cadillac probably, with a toothpick in your mouth and an entourage behind you that doesn't scream D-bag? I mean, how can it not? I mean, they have to be self-aware that imagery, especially the toothpick, I mean, that's what D-bags do, right? Does anybody know anyone in their life that walks around with a toothpick in their mouth just to feel cool, and yet you still like that person? The answer is probably no. So I would imagine that unless he actually thinks it's just like a cool thing to him or for him, or a cool visual, that I don't think it translates with most people. But details here and there here that I just don't see how they view him as a babyface. He's a heel, yet his work screams babyface. So it's a bit of a contrast of styles here. But Logan Paul should probably just dive into the heel gimmick. It's smarter, even though his work brought the crowd to their feet. And I think at the end they respected him more. And I told you guys that was the goal. I said that was the goal of this match, is not will Logan Paul actually win, but can they give you the moment or two where you actually believe he could, and how good of a wrestling match is it going to be? And those are the two things we looked for. Those are the two things we got. We got a really good wrestling match, and we got a moment where we all believed, oh my God, even I got that moment I was looking for. And that moment came with the frog splash. You know, after he smashed Roman through the table, he brought him in the ring and did it again. And there was that little sliver of doubt. And it happened. And I got to give WWE and everyone involved credit. So, good stuff. Jake Paul obviously get involved. We'll dive a little bit more into that a little bit later in terms of details and parts of the match. But I want to talk first about Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. Disappointing is a good way to put it. Not embarrassing, just disappointing. I'd give this match like a C. You know, I wouldn't. It was okay. I expected longer and more drama, and we got a kind of a awkward pin on Bobby Lashley from Brock Lesnar. So now they're 1-1, which you know they're going to have a third match. So that was weird. It was a bit surprising that's the way Brock won. Another thing that was really funny for me, and I don't know if anyone else caught this, I think it was Wade Barrett and Michael Cole who were driving home the point that Bobby Lashley is an asterisk. I can never pronounce that right. He's that little, snowflake looking thing on Brock Lesnar's career. And I would say, first of all, no. There have been many people that have beaten Brock Lesnar in his entire career. Goldberg, just to name one. Roman Reigns, to name another. Seth Rollins, to name another. You know, so there have been many. And, oh, by the way, I think Undertaker beat him once, if I'm not mistaken. I know he ended Undertaker's career, but Undertaker's streak, rather. There's been a myriad of stars who have beaten Brock Lesnar. So, no, he's not an asterisk, okay? He's not. Bobby Lashley is just another name of a guy on a short list, admittedly, that have beaten Brock Lesnar. But that wasn't even the most egregious part of Wade Barrett's commentary. He followed up with that saying, and I quote, "The nearly perfect record of Brock Lesnar is in jeopardy." What? What do you mean the near perfect record of Brock Lesnar? He just spent the last year losing to Roman Reigns. What are you talking about, Wade? I would imagine that they're just trying to pretend that those losses didn't happen, or that they happened so long ago that we're supposed to forget. No. In fact, the latest one came at SummerSlam, and he lost to twice at least in this year to Roman Reigns. So no, Wade, that narrative was just egregious. I know what they're trying to go for there, and they're trying to put over talent, but stop insulting my intelligence. But by the way, also too, is Bobby Lashley a heel now? I mean, the crowd gravitated to Brock. He's the bigger star. But if you remember, Brock Lesnar picked this fight. He's the one who started this. Now, you could argue, well, who started it in January at the Rumble? But that's, in wrestling world, that might as well be 5 years ago. Because as of right now, it's Brock Lesnar who started the fight. He came back, he targeted Lashley, still don't have an explanation. And that, I don't know why we're supposed to be booing Brock Lesnar or booing Bobby Lashley, other than Brock Lesnar's the bigger heel, or bigger star rather. So I don't know. This is kind of a mess, and I hate to say that because this is such a potentially huge WrestleMania main event. You could say, you could even argue and build towards this match as a WrestleMania main event. I don't think they'll do that. They've kind of spoiled it and poured a little cold water on it at this point. But nonetheless, I was a bit disappointed by this match. It didn't embarrass anyone by any stretch, but given the magnitude of these guys and what this match could and should be, boy, they're 0 for 2 for me. I mean, the Rumble match didn't do much for me, and nor did this one. I mean, they're going to have a third. Maybe they'll add a story to this, and maybe they'll surprise us with a longer matchup. But, all right, let's get to, let's see here. Let's get to the Women's Tag Team Championship match that happened next. Alexa Bliss and Asuka versus Damage Control. I really enjoyed this match more than I thought I even would, and I picked this as a potential sleeper match of the night. It wasn't match of the night, but it's definitely in the top half. Fun, chemistry was there. Now, what's interesting to note before the match started, Alexa Bliss was being interviewed by Byron Saxton, and on the screen behind her, the Bray Wyatt symbol popped up, the upside down moth, or whatever the hell it is. And Alexa Bliss was, for just a momentary second, just kind of mesmerized by it, and puzzled by it, and entranced by it, and then snapped out of it, like annoyed, and and then just went on with her promo. This means something. Okay, I really am sad to say that if you want Alexa Bliss away from Bray Wyatt, it probably won't happen. I think that she may be sucked back in to the Bray Wyatt story and likely sucked back into his faction. Now, this isn't the Fiend anymore. That's gone. She may be put in a different way. She may be actually just Alexa Bliss and, just be more of herself instead of this hocus pocus character. But it definitely told you something, that she still is affected by Bray Wyatt. Now, maybe it was just a quick throwback that, hey, Bray's here and Alexa's here. And it was just a wink and a nod to their prior connection. But I think this leads to something. And whenever Wyatt comes up with his faction, the rumored faction anyway, of the Wyatt Six, or whatever the hell it ends up being called, it seems to me that she's going to be a part of it. I would keep an eye on whenever this symbol pops up for somebody else. Before their match, during a promo like Alexa just had happen. And keep an eye out, because we could be being told who's going to be in this group by these signals. So it's my theory. I'm not saying it's true, or nor have I heard anything. But let's get back to the matchup. I really enjoyed this. I mean, the effort of all four women here was excellent. I will say also that the crowd has an extremely low bar for the Holy S chants. I mean, if they were chanting Holy S for just a couple of superplexes, which happened also later in the night, I mean, what would they do if a WrestleMania came there? I mean, they'd be chanting Holy S with video packages. I mean, but I'm not making fun of them as much as I am of understanding why they were Holy S-ing a couple of superplex spots, because if you only had an event come to your country once a year, your thirst and your passion for wrestling needs to be quenched. And if you only get one chance a year, you're going to be just super excited to be there, right? And you're going to be pumped up, and the bar is set pretty low, in other words, if you only have wrestling there once a year. So it was just funny. Like, I'm like, Holy S. I'm like, what? Have you guys never seen a superplex before? I don't know. But really good stuff here with Alexa Bliss and Io Sky, Dakota Kai. I had no problem with anything in this matchup other than one of two silly babyface distractions, where I think Alexa was again just distracted as she was about to hit her Twisted Bliss. I think it was Io Sky who distracted her, but just stood there. And I'm like, all right, hit your finish. And of course, it ended up costing her the match. But I was surprised that Alexa Bliss and Asuka lost. You know, they just won the belts. Nikki Cross, of course, is to blame. Nikki Cross comes out and costs Alexa. I didn't mean to. The distraction was by Io Sky, but the ultimate decision of the match was caused by Nikki Cross targeting Alexa Bliss during that distraction. So the announcers did make the connection between Alexa Bliss and former friend Nikki Cross, and how they used to be best friends and all this kind of thing. So I'd imagine that Nikki's going on a revenge tour, and she's just attacking everybody who did her wrong. So I'm cool with that. It's infinitely more interesting than her desperation superhero gimmick that she was doing, for 6 months or so that didn't work ever. So this is very interesting to me. I think Alexa and Nikki are going to do very well together in terms of having a program. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll see if Asuka and Alexa stay together. And there's a good case to be made that they should break up, as Nikki Cross has seemingly singled out Alexa. So we shall see. All right, let's get to the next match. Oh, by the way, Damage Control, as I said, beat Alexa and Asuka. I think I said that. Okay. Drew McIntyre, Karrion Kross. The announcers in this match even said, Michael Cole and Wade Barrett even said that how important this match is to Drew, who has had a bit of a losing streak on pay-per-views as of late. That's interesting to note. That's been kind of the same narrative that a lot of the fans have been pushing, and that they've been noticing is that, hey, what the hell's going on with Drew here? He needs a victory. Well, he got a victory, kinda, right? Like this cage match, I thought was good. It wasn't blow away. It won't be the first thing you think about when you come away from this pay-per-view, but there were some nice moments. The aggressiveness by Karrion Kross and the facials by Karrion Kross are always, I think, an attribute to his character, an attribute to any matchup. And Karrion Kross and McIntyre, I think, have a nice chemistry together. And they use the cage, I think, kind of standardly, nothing wacky anywhere there either. They use it to smash each other's faces into and do the typical slow climb where, these super athletes forget how to climb something, and just like a ladder, right, or anything, they just forget. They forget how to walk through doors to win a match. They forget how to climb things to win a match. And I'm no proponent of any of those things being a method of victory, an avenue of victory when it comes to a steel cage match, because I think it's completely contrarian to the purpose of the match. But that said, they did the typical, they're just about to go over, and somehow, even though they're already over, they grab the hair or whoever and pull them back over, which is preposterous. But, they do those spots, and you expect it to happen, and it's dramatic. It can be, right? So, I will say that the mace spot actually made me think that Karrion could pull this one off with Scarlett, and Scarlett locking Drew in was... I actually had a feeling, and I'm not Monday morning quarterbacking at all, I had a feeling that was actually going to be the downfall of Karrion by the way she did it, and she was so proud of herself. But the one thing that was weird was when Drew saw Scarlett do that and lock them in, and he just looked up to the cage like, y'all know I can, y'all know I realize that I can go over this cage, right? It was like, dude, that Karrion's in the cage still. You just knocked him out. Why not inflict more punishment on him like you said you were going to? You basically said you wanted to kill Karrion Kross, and yet you're choosing to just climb over the cage to win instead of inflicting as much punishment as you want, kicking his head off. Did he even hit a Claymore? Did Drew hit an actual Claymore tonight? I don't know if he did. So it was very frustrating for me that he took the path of least resistance and just climbed over. Now Karrion ultimately tried to get through. I thought he was going to beat Drew. He didn't. So Drew gets the victory. But it was like, dude, you tried to run him over with your car, and yet instead of winning by just destroying him, you decide to just climb over the cage. So that was frustrating, but then I thought about it, and the reason has to be, I would hope, that they're protecting Karrion Kross, where, okay, he takes a loss here, but in future promos, he's able to claim he's never been pinned, right? So I think this is a way to have your cake and eat it too for WWE, even if it isn't the most satisfying victory for Drew McIntyre fans, because you want to see him really just get his head kicked off, and he just lost kind of almost by a technicality. And to me, it's a technicality, but he still won. So that has to be the reason for me. That has to be the reason, at least in my mind, that they didn't go with a clean pin on Karrion Kross. So. Also, this is where the second ridiculous babyface distraction happened with Scarlett. As Drew McIntyre was counting down for the Claymore, Scarlett got on the onto the cage and got through on the other side of the cage, by the way, and stood there. And Drew got distracted by Scarlett on the other side of the cage. I'm like, number one, she's a woman. Okay, she's got mace, but like. So you're distracted by her what? Running her mouth? How many times are babyfaces going to be distracted by this kind of nonsense? It makes them look so stupid. I mean, so anyway, the match was fine. The match was fine. And it sounded like this was the conclusion for both men, even if it wasn't the most satisfying. Okay. Let's go to the next matchup here. And it is the OC versus the Judgment Day in a 6-man tag. Again, another good match. It was kind of rushed at the end, but I don't think that it was a particularly standout match, kind of like the cage match, but it was good. I mean, I'd give it, if I out of 10, I'd give it like a 6.5. It was good. Maybe a 7. It was not even, no, 6.5. It was good. And it ended kind of like a Monday Night Raw match would end with these 6 individuals, where Judgment Day gets the victory, and the reason is Rhea Ripley. Now, the one X factor here, as Rhea Ripley is her hair. Rhea Ripley's hair was awesome, and Michael Cole telling a story about Rhea Ripley's hair was a nice addition to the broadcast, saying that Rhea Ripley wanted to pay tribute to Beth Phoenix, who she crushed her skull in just a month ago. That was fun. I actually expected Beth and Edge to return here. They didn't, and I'm cool with that. But eventually, it's Beth versus Rhea Ripley. And also, by the way, Michael Cole throughout the night was giving us kind of insights that you never hear from announcers. Typically the announcers, to be an announcer, you have to drop your IQ by like 50 points in order to be a announcer, because you always say things aren't going to come true, hype up things aren't going to be actually coming true, and actually throughout the match acting totally clueless, like, oh my god, he hit him so hard with the clothesline that could end the match. It's like, yeah, sure. So you have to really hit yourself in the head 5 or 6 times to be an announcer. And I don't mean that truly disrespectfully, but sometimes the IQ of announcers is a bit compromised from a pure presentation standpoint. That said, Michael Cole was giving us good insight throughout the night about Beth Phoenix's hair, and that we wouldn't have known that otherwise, or we wouldn't have confirmed it otherwise. And also saying that tonight felt different. I don't know if that stuck out to you, but when Michael Cole said to us that there's something in the air, there's something that feels different. I've called Roman Reigns' match, all championship matches that he's had since he became champion, and something feels different about tonight. That was a cool addition. I don't know who thought of that, but that was cool. You don't hear the announcers interject a lot of their own opinions on that level. So good stuff from all involved there, whoever's idea that was, even though it was a small thing. But this match here, it was exactly what you'd expect. The OC getting a mild babyface reaction, because I'm not sure why we're supposed to care about the OC. Honestly, I mean, outside of just he's the minions for AJ and they're riding his coattails, like, we don't know anything about them. If you didn't follow them in New Japan, you didn't follow them throughout their career, and the fact that WWE doesn't give them any mic time, it's hard to get invested emotionally in Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. But the match was good. It was exactly what you'd expect, and Rhea Ripley continues to make you want somebody to see her get her ass kicked. And Cole even said that tonight. He goes, somebody needs to kick her ass. That was a cool moment, because yes, someone does badly. I told you, if this was Attitude Era, she would be getting a chair over the skull and bleeding. That's what I would do. All right, let's get to, as I had figured, the palate cleansing match a little bit past the middle of the show here. And Braun Strowman and Omos. This was, again, a nice visually pleasing match, and about as good as you could have expected for two men of this size. And they have good chemistry, and Braun Strowman was dominated for most of the match by Omos. And I think also the fact that the expectations for this match were low by most fans, from most fans and on social media as well, that it surprised people when they actually put on a well-crafted, foundationally sound match. I think it was good, and having Braun Strowman get the victory was expected, but a good match. And I don't know if these two are done yet. Maybe not. We'll find out on Raw if Omos attacks Braun Strowman or not. So we shall see. But this was a good match that was exactly what it should have been. A power-heavy, slower-paced, more digestible match that ended with Braun Strowman getting the victory. The one thing, if there's any critique, is can Omos learn another emotion, or rather another avenue to show his emotions other than trying to roar every 5 seconds? Omos, he needs to figure out something other than the forced roaring like a lion. I mean, did he watch a bunch of National Geographic and just says, you know what, I can do that? And he just sat in their hotel room and practiced. I mean, it's been a staple of his entire career, and I don't mind once in a while, but he hits a clothesline and does it. And I don't think he knows. It's like his safe zone, his little safe space. He doesn't know what else to do, so he just defaults to the roar. So, just something. He needs to work on something else. Shake it up a bit. Okay, the Usos versus the Brawling Brutes. Really good match here. There were a lot of "We Want Sammy" chants, Usi chants, and of course, great chemistry between these two teams. Did you expect anything less? Did anyone expect anything less from these two teams? And did anyone expect the Usos to lose here? No, because they also set up something on SmackDown with the defending, reigning tag team champions streak, or rather their longest reigning tag team of the New Day, who are trying to stop the Usos from breaking their record. So there was almost no chance, zero, of the Brawling Brutes winning. But that wasn't the story again. The story was give Butch and Ridge some airtime and do it without Sheamus, because Sheamus is the bigger star. I mean, you don't have the bigger star there. You don't have that gravitational pull. So you were able to focus on the other guys. And they also did a nice backstory on Butch and Ridge, right? We've heard Ridge the Fridge, but they also did a nice backstory about his rugby days. That was cool, giving us some more stats about who he is and his previous ambitions, and it just really solidified. And same with Butch. They gave a backstory on him as well. And it was cool to watch, or cool to listen to. So Michael Cole was on his game tonight. I gotta say, he really was. But they hit the 1D. They hit a top rope 1D on Butch for the victory, and the Usos retain, and it was good. I mean, I don't see how you can expect this to be anything else other than really good. And Ridge Holland, well, he doesn't have a whole lot to him right now from a charisma standpoint, can really go in the ring. So, I you know what I expect too? I expect Big E to possibly come back to support the New Day. I don't know if he's ready to take a bump or if he's ready, in any capacity. I don't know. But if you remember, Ridge Holland is the one that actually sent him out with that neck injury and broke his neck. Luckily, nothing serious came out of it in terms of paralyzation or anything. But Ridge is the one who injured Big E. So I think that Big E could be returning at some point to if Big E, or rather if the New Day go on to lose, and they will probably, to the Usos. They're going to lose that tag team title match. But I think they'll go on to face the Brawling Brutes at some point, and then you'll have maybe Big E confront Ridge Holland. Just a thought. All right, let's continue on. Boy, did I love this next match. So good. So good. The Raw Women's Championship. Bianca Belair versus Bayley in a last woman standing match. This was really good. They killed themselves. I really expected an X to go up from the referee numerous times. The kendo sticks, of course, you got to bring out the kendo stick, even though I think the kendo stick is super overused. I'm sure they were happy to know that they were, since due to the governmental restrictions of women showing anything in public, they had to be fully covered, basically head to toe. So the kendo stick shots didn't hurt nearly as much as they normally would. And that said, once Bayley and Bianca, or as Wade Barrett would call them, Bianca, he could not say Bianca, by the way. He should just stick with Belair. I think he can say Belair, but his accent is so heavy, he can't say Bianca. So that was distracting for me. But once Bianca and Bayley made their way up to the ramp, and they had Bayley did the Bayley to belly on Bianca on the stage, and then brought out the golf cart and the rolling carrying case. I thought that was fun. The golf cart was hilariously slow, by the way. Bianca was like 50 feet away from the golf cart, and she was acting like it was, like some kind of supercar driving 155 miles an hour at her, and she had to dodge out of the way. It was pretty hilarious. But the top of the golf cart was taped with anti-stick, or rather some kind of, I don't know what you call it, but tractional Velcro pieces which was smart to do, because Bayley was standing on top of it, and one slip and, serious injury could happen. But they had brawling on top of the golf cart, and then Bayley on top of the golf cart as Bianca's driving her back to the ring, doing the table spot on Bayley through the table that didn't break. I thought that was going to cause, the referee to throw up the X sign. She finally hits the table spot on Bayley, and then they brought that chair in the ring, and Bayley ends up taking a KOD awkwardly on the chair. I mean, she caught like her leg, or it was just on like the top of the chair, like the ridge of the seat. It was raw. I mean, oof. They really put it all on the line. Bianca Belair gets the victory after she traps Bayley inside of a ladder and then jams the ladder in the bottom of the ring ropes so she couldn't get out. I mean, she really could have, but they did as good of a job as you could expect to make it look like Bayley was crushed. She almost made her way out. She didn't. Bayley ends up losing here, and Bianca retains the Raw Women's Championship. So really a nice match from both women. I was invested in this most of the time. The amount of bruises and bumps that they're going to wake up with in the morning is going to be significant, and I really appreciate the sacrifice that both of these women made on their bodies. And it also continues to show that, like, Bianca Belair does not have bad matches, like, ever. Never. Bianca Belair is just so good in the ring. She may be arguably the best women's athlete WWE has ever had, ever. Athleticism. I'm not saying the biggest star, although that may follow as well at some point in her career, but the most athletic wrestler, women's wrestler that they've ever had. So, I'm looking forward to eventually Rousey and Bianca. How about that? Oof. All right. Let's continue on here. Now, we did get the main event. I already talked about the main event. Excuse me. Again, great near falls. Jake Paul coming out and doing his part. Solo Sikoa coming out. Paul Heyman's facial expressions of concern are always hilarious to watch. I mean, can we just have a second cam on Paul Heyman's face throughout the entire match all the time? Can we do that? Can someone just have a constant feed of Paul Heyman's face in this, like the bottom corner of my screen, and then have the actual match going on the main screen? To match those two up would be so much fun, because Paul Heyman's facial expressions are priceless. He is hilarious. So, also credit to Roman Reigns at the end of the match, after he did beat Logan Paul with a spear. He did a nice, and it was probably, I would imagine, predetermined in terms of this moment, but when he gave that facial expression after he beat Logan Paul and hit the spear, after he beat him, he kind of looked at him like, what the hell was that? I didn't expect to have to push myself that hard. I mean, you could read it many ways, but that look he gave to Logan Paul, and you guys know, if you watch it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, was a great way to show the concern and urgency on Roman Reigns' face, and realizing he just escaped, right? He just escaped with his championship. So Logan Paul loses to Roman Reigns as expected, but over-delivers in most people's expectations, even the most optimistic of people. Now, we didn't get any, and I'll talk about Bray Wyatt in a minute, but we didn't get any Bray Wyatt attack at the end. We didn't get any Rock. We didn't get anybody attacking him at the end. It was just Roman Reigns doing what he does at the end of every pay-per-view he headlines as champion, holding up the championships as the fireworks are going off, and we go to black, right? So we got pretty much what we expected there. No big surprises. Now, Bray Wyatt did make an appearance here. Bray Wyatt did come out. The crowd was super into it. I mean, my God, was the crowd into it. And they couldn't get enough Bray Wyatt. To their credit, I mean, Bray Wyatt is a huge star, and he still doesn't have an opponent, but he's been refreshed. He's been reborn, if you will. And the music of Bray Wyatt, I think, also adds a lot of a different feel to him. And the music, it's so, I don't know how to explain it. It's something you'd want to listen to, but also it's perfect for, I mean, of course, everyone's style of music is different, but it's perfect for Bray Wyatt. And Bray Wyatt did come out, though, and the crowd was, again, super into this. And he talked about how this monster he created, referring to the Fiend, destroyed everything he had. Like he used the mask to hide from the pain, and he felt invincible. And that that same monster he created also destroyed his life, and that monster pushed a lot of people away from him. And that was the general message of it. And then, of course, Uncle Howdy comes on, and it sounds like Bray Wyatt's voice more and more, by the way, which is very concerning to me, that it's another alter ego. Maybe it'll work out great. I have my doubts. We've seen this pony show before, but I'm going to let it play out before I judge it. That said, the content of Uncle Howdy was that you know that putting on the mask will make you feel no pain, right? Why not keep it on? Something to that effect, basically telling Bray, this is who you really are. If you put this mask back on, you can be invincible again. If you're worried about the consequences, you keep the mask on. You never take it off. Now, it was said much more eloquently than that. I can't play any audio for you, but that was the general message. So Uncle Howdy and Bray continue this kind of feud-ish, but it's still maybe him. And it's not really a wrestling character yet, so it's more character development for Bray. And everything about Bray, the way Bray talks is just so captivating. I mean, Bray Wyatt is just such a great talker, and the crowd chanting that, yes, you are to Bray when he said that, the expectation for him was to be greater than his family's own wrestling legacy. And the crowd saying that you were already greater than that. Saying, welcome back to Bray Wyatt, all that. So Saudi Arabia generally behaved themselves in terms of what the desired narrative was for every match. They didn't go booing heels and cheering booing baby faces and cheering heels just to be cool. They seemed genuinely in line for the most part for the matches that went on. And you just never know. Every time you go to a foreign country and have these events, you just never know how the crowd's going to react. And I think the show came off really well. I have no issues with how the show came off, and I think that generally people will feel the same. So, looking at any other news that's come out, guys, I'm just doing a kind of a quick wrap here. Let's see here. There's some rumors about Sasha Banks. Let me just get into this here quickly, very quickly. It says, and this is according to Wrestling Inc., Sasha Banks has dropped a major hint about her immediate future. Taking to her Instagram, Banks said that she finally received an opportunity she's been waiting for, quote, for the past 6 months. And she says, quote, as time passes, there's been so much growth and there's been so much beautiful opportunity in the journey I've been loving. But as the time goes on, the day is coming that I've been waiting for the past 6 months, and I can't wait. Quote, I'm really gonna make the most of this November to make all my dreams happen in preparation for this date that I've been waiting for. I'm very excited, and I hope you guys come along this journey, which I know a lot of you have been with me for so long. So thank you, but I just wanted to let you know there's going to be something so effing crazy coming. So, she hasn't been in a ring since May. 6 months from May is November. So I don't know exactly what this means. Now, if you're looking ahead, this article does point out something very interesting. So she hasn't been in a ring since May when they walked out. Her and Naomi walked out as women's tag team champions. So since then, it says, talks between Banks and WWE have reportedly revived, and it should be noted that WWE's upcoming Survivor Series pay-per-view is set to take place in Banks' hometown of Boston on November 26th, approximately 6 months after her departure. So, are the stars aligning for a Sasha Banks return? Seems like it. I think there is a high likelihood of Sasha Banks returning here. I wouldn't bet my house on it, but I'd give it a very good chance, a healthy chance of Sasha Banks coming back. And it'd be good to see her back. I think that the women's division always needs help. It feels like it just constantly needs help. So this is a good thing. I don't know who she'd be facing or where she'd be going, what brand. Not that a brand matters anymore, but I think this is cool. And it's something as Sasha Banks fans, you can hang your hat on of, okay, it seems like it could be happening here. If this is going to happen at all, 6 months later, in her hometown, what better way to return? I mean, the crowd's going to lose their minds, right? So, how about that? Sasha Banks possibly returning. I'm excited for it. I'm sure most of you are as well, but all right. Well, that pretty much wraps up the Crown Jewel event. A very solid wrestling show, one that I think over-delivered. And I think that we have something to look forward to. And now we can go to Survivor Series, which will be the final pay-per-view until Royal Rumble, like 8 weeks later. So we've got War Games coming, 2 rings, 10 competitors. They advertised that a few times throughout the show. And that'll be a lot of fun. If you've never seen War Games before, I encourage you to go to like NXT and watch it. They've done that a few times. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And we finally get to transition to Survivor Series and get back to just normally scheduled pay-per-views. So thanks everybody for listening. Again, I'll be back. What the heck's today? Is today Saturday? Oh man. I probably won't be doing a weekend review just because when pay-per-views happen, this is my weekend review because I don't think that SmackDown, given it happened before this pay-per-view, anybody's interested in hearing about that. And plus we have a SmackDown team that does a great job reviewing it. So I'll be back on Monday with your current state of WWE with Anthony DeMarco, which will be a lot of fun to talk about the results of this event. So thank you everybody for listening. Please consider going on Patreon and supporting us with ad-free content for $1. It gets you in the door at patreon.com/WWE Podcast. WWEpodcast.com is also a place you can get all the latest content. And that's pretty much it. Thanks everybody for listening. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.